Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Richard Driver, Vice President of Sales and Partnerships at ImpactQA. ImpactQA brings a consulting-led approach to quality engineering for energy and commodity trading ecosystems. Our model blends deep trading domain expertise with AI-driven assurance, enabling faster implementations, risk transparency, and measurable ROI across energy and commodities enterprises. We align quality with business outcomes, not just text execution. I'm joined today by two leaders from ImpactQA. JP Bhatt, CEO and founder of ImpactQA. JP has spent over 2 decades helping Fortune 500 enterprises modernize their QA and testing strategies. He's led ImpactQA's expansion across the US, Europe, and Asia. I'm also joined by Sachin Sangle, Vice President of Engineering. Sachin leads our global delivery and technology innovation team. He's architected test automation frameworks across SAP S/4HANA, OpenLink Endure, and large-scale procurement systems. Today, I'd like to set the stage by talking about the big picture. So when you look at the ETRM landscape today, what's fundamentally broken in how enterprises approach testing and quality assurance?
Okay, hey, thanks, Richard, for a quick introduction. That's a great place to start. The main issue is that traditional QA models just don't fit in the ETRM world, considering the complex applications what we have in ETRM, right? So these platforms are complex, interconnected, and depend on real-time data from multiple sources. So typically regression or static test cases or cycles simply don't scale up here. So here's what it makes ETRM testing a bit more challenging. Now I'll highlight some of the points. So the first would be it's complex trade structures. As we know that this is a trading environment where you have multi-leg, multi-commodity, and cross-currency trade that creates multi-dimensional exposure. The next complexity would be your complex integrations. It deeply links with ICE, Platts, risk engines, and other third-party systems wherein even minor data timing issues can trigger big downstream mismatches. It's one of the crucial for trading businesses. The third one, I would say the dynamic market data, wherein your prices, foreign exchange rates continuously changes. It's not a static data oriented, it's a continuous dynamic data that we need to take into consideration into testing. The next one would be complex business validations. It's a heavy business logic across taxes, risk calculations, exposure management that needs detailed domain level understanding, and that cannot go with the standard testing approach. The next one would be large volume of data which we are interacting. It's a massive trade data sets which we work with. Long running batch jobs which processes those data and gives you the real-time analysis. There are parallel processing which makes it a little bit harder to test performance consistently, right? End-to-end business process, that's a common challenge across ETRM and large-scale ERP programs. Everything ties into ERP and finance systems, right? So you can't test it in silos. You need to test that from point A to point B, considering all the different integrations in that and ensuring that each and every integration works fine and gives you the right functionality. Then another challenge in large-scale programs is your environment. Since you're interacting with multiple third-party systems, you may not have the same environment landscape such as your core system, which is test, QA, prod, pre-prod. Each application has their own environment, which is some applications runs on 2 test environments, some applications runs on 3 test environments, some applications does on directly dev and prod. So collaborating all these environments in end-to-end connection, that makes it a little bit challenging. The next one is your regulatory compliances, wherein you get the frequent changes from EMIR, REMIT, and other reporting frameworks, and the continuous releases. That's probably the last one, wherein you have to, if your system is continuously expecting changes, right? So in terms of agile and DevOps, we really never stops. It has to be continuous and adaptive. So those are all high-level challenges when we talk about ETRM system and implementation in terms of testing. So it's the alignment between complexity, speed, validation depth, That's where transformation needs to happen.
So,
Thank you, Judd. I can quickly add to what Sachin said. I think one of the important pieces is also Sachin did touch upon performance and the functional aspect of a complex commodity trading platform. But ever since the SI partners and the companies that implement these complex platforms, there is a security element to it, and people are using different technologies. These systems they get integrated with other systems. Also, they bring in data from upstream and then feed data to specific products on, let's say, the reporting side of the house. Hence, security plays an important role. These platforms get implemented on, they're hosted on sometimes on these hyperscalers, and security on the cloud has always been a concern for CIOs. So security of these platforms is also very important, testing of all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's an excellent breakdown. So, given these realities, how do you address these challenges? What does a modern quality engineering approach for an ETRM system look like?
Okay. I would say it's all about engineering smarter testing ecosystem, combining your business insights, automation, and collaboration. And I'll give you some quick guidelines or highlights on how do we tackle it in our current industry. We have our engineered approach to address such complex situations. So the first one, which I earlier spoke, if you remember, was about complex trade structures. We analyze the business logic and replicate real market scenarios. For example, testing structured power trades with currency hedging, one of the critical scenario in trading, right? So we understand the business, and that's what we put in our engineering, and to make sure that it addresses the complex trade structures. About the integrations, we try to use API and interface level testing to validate end-to-end message flows from different third-party application, ICE or Plats through SAP CM or REST engines. We tackle the APIs. We validate the APIs, and we include the API testing in such integrations to make sure that data flows from one point to another point, and that's the right data. When I talk about data, dynamic data, implementing the test data management systems and the framework that can simulate the real life live market data in testing environment and ensure that realistic and reusable data sets. Here we are going away from traditional approach of your static data sets, which we used to do earlier in our traditional testing approach, right? So we are moving away from that here. The next one would be your business validations, wherein partner closely work with business users to build validation-rich test cases, adding variations and negative test paths. That's most important point, wherein without your validations in the test cases, your test cases are not comprehensive. So adding as much as validations in the test cases, and validations, when I say, it should be a business validations. So into your test cases, that makes it more comprehensive. Managing the large volume data, we encourage our clients to do the performance and load testing to make sure that we are game day ready with the production scale volumes to assess the real life system behavior. We try to mimic the real life production scenario into our performance and load testing with n number of tools which are available in market. We try to mimic that scenario when we make sure that your application is game day ready when you go live and you don't see a performance issue in your application. Validating end-to-end business flow, that basically creating a comprehensive end-to-end scenarios, which touches all your real life, day in a life production scenarios that trace trades through valuation, settlements, risk management, and accounting. The next one would be, how do we address environment-related challenges? There are multiple solutions available on service virtualization, which we try to mock unavailable systems or feeds, keeping those that testing live and continuous in terms where the third-party applications are not available on the test environment. We mimic those environments. We do the service virtualization for that request and response application. In terms of regulatory compliance, we maintain regulatory regression packs for EMIR, REMIT, and Dodd-Frank validations. Continuous releases. Now, in real life scenario, we have automation enhanced in all the places. We enable automation in each and every place of the project. We embed test automation into CI/CD pipeline for continuous validation to make sure that the releases are faster. We are handing over the application thoroughly tested to the project teams. It's basically a mix of all process maturity, automation, and domain fluency that keeps ETRM QA resilient and reliable. That's what I can say.
Fantastic. Fantastic. JP, anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, one of the challenges, I mean, I think he's pretty much covered it all, but on the resource side of the house, how do you find good talent to, and there is a dearth of talent in the CTRM space, no doubt. So keeping people trained on, you know, the latest that is happening in the commodity trading world, any regulations that are changing, anything that a product or a platform, if that goes through a change, how do you communicate that to you know, to the QA resources? How do you build that domain, you know, domain knowledge? The way a trade would work for, you know, a gas trade would be different than if you're trading metals. So how do you train, you know, your people, your staff from one domain to another domain? That's another area that I see most of the organizations, they struggle. I mean, given that there's already a scarcity of talent, and then if you're working on multiple projects, you have to then make sure that you're cross-training your staff on those domains as well.
Perfect. So that actually brings me to a great segue. So, you know, JP, Sachin, I know you guys have been working on something really innovative, a product called NeX-AI. Right? Can you walk us through a little bit about how NeX-AI, you know, what it does and how does it generate and validate some of these really complex ETRM test cases for these systems?
Absolutely. So in current world, you might have seen that there are n number of tools available in market which claims to be AI enabled. NeX-AI is quite different than those tools. So NeX-AI represents the next leap in intelligent quality engineering. It's built on knowledge base of ETRM and commodity management business logic. So we do have our huge data set which has been used in this tool to make sure that ETRM and commodity business logic is already in place with thousands of mapped process flows, trade types, and validation rules inbuilt. Here's what makes it more powerful. The knowledge repository, it understands core ETRM processes from trade capture to exposure and settlements right out of the box. Prompt engineering, testers can describe business scenario in a natural language, like create regression cases for Brent crude spread option with European settlement. NeX-AI translates that prompt into detailed and executable test cases. It can also understand, okay, what are the business roles which needs to go into place, which can be dependent on the client specific. It also adds some dynamic validation. It connects to live APIs or system data to auto-check the calculations such as mark-to-market or VAR or tax logic has been correctly applied or not. The percentage on your taxes, direct taxes or indirect taxes, is that coming out correctly or not? So that adds the validations into the test cases. It also has a self-healing regression when test results deviate and are manually corrected. NeX-AI understands that, learns from that feedback, and over the time, it updates the validation logic itself autonomously, building a self-healing test suite. So that next time, whenever you see a change, it captures the previous all changes on that particular business logic, and it applies to that and make sure that you get the right test cases out of it. It does use AI optimization. It constantly analyzes execution data to remove redundant test cases and suggest new ones for uncovered areas. So we are not far from a world where QA is AI augmented, where test design, data creation, defect learning all evolve in real time. It transforms your QA from being reactive to, I would say, adaptive and predictive.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I know that JP briefly touched on this. with all that complexity and the automation and AI, right, and now you have all these people who need to interact with this tool, how do you kind of close the collaboration between the business users, developers, QA teams, and AI, and how do you get them into a place where all these people and these processes and tools can work together?
That's where actually your people and process come together. We emphasize on early QA involvement, right? So testers participate in requirement gathering workshops to understand the requirements are being thoroughly given to the developers, where they understand the QA logic, what needs to be applied in those requirements, what would be the some different negative scenarios that needs to go in there. There's the structured processes, right? Regular triage sessions, we clear ownership and shared accountability between these users. We also enable continuous feedback loop. That's a process part of it, wherein QA give the feedback directly, inform dev and business team on their refinement. They also give feedbacks on what are the different variations the QA team can think about on negative test cases in such sessions. And business also gives the feedback, okay, these are valid and these are invalid. So that's where that collaboration starts in early in the game to make sure the right side of test cases are getting prepared. Having transparency and daily sync across QA, dev, and business teams to align on data, regs, and priority is the key for this process and people collaboration. So I would say, to summarize it, when collaboration is seamless, QA becomes a bridge between business intent and the technology execution.
Awesome. So as we kind of wrap this up, I'd like to get one sentence from each of you, JP and you, Sachin. So quickly describe to me in just one sentence, what does the future of a QA organization look like when it comes to ETRM specific applications?
So I would take it first, probably, in my opinion, the future QA organization focuses on business validations and real life scenarios, with technology and AI augmenting every step of the process. Not replacing people, but empowering them to deliver quality smarter and faster.
And JP?
Yeah, I agree with what Sachin said. More and more, the depth and breadth of testing in the CTRM world will happen. When I talk to CIOs and business people, what I've seen is there's not a whole lot of time spent on QAing these complex platforms. In future, as these platforms become more and more complex, and in terms of data and the other applications that they would eventually interface with, I'm thinking there would be a lot of use of AI and other tools that QA people will have to use going forward to make sure that they are properly testing these complex platforms.
Right. Yeah, that's a perfect note to close on. I think you touched on a good point there, right? QA is going to be both human and artificial intelligence going forward, right? But it's how they work together that is going to empower these systems to kind of go to the next level. So I want to say thank you very much, JP, and thank you, Sachin, for joining today and unpacking how these complex energy and trading and commodity trading systems and how the quality engineering is being reimagined for the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Richard.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure sharing the journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.